So now I have the privilege of introducing Thaddeus Owen. He is a circadian health expert. He is an author. He's been on TEDx stages, and he is the co-founder of Primal Hacker and also Dreamwalkers. And you might have heard me say at the end of every podcast, keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun. And sometimes I talk about sunrise before screen rise. I have to say Thaddeus was a big influence on my understanding about my light diet and the light information I was getting. And so I'm really thankful for him personally. But I also want to tell you a fun fact that you won't see in his bio. Well, I don't know if it's a fun fact, but on the way here, because he has a booth for Dreamwalkers, his U-Haul became detached from his car. He was going 70 miles an hour on the freeway. Oh my gosh, it was a scary moment, but they all made it intact. Let's give Thaddeus a hand.
All right, let's get this thing working. All right, can everybody hear me? Sounds like you can now. All right, how's this? Perfect. All right. Has anybody here ever had a problem falling asleep at night? Don't be shy. Do you know anybody that's lost a bunch of weight only to gain it right back? Like, I know people. What about, does anyone here know someone who's had cancer? So what if all of these things were related, and in fact related to our environment, and specifically the light that we're exposed to? And what if the NIH, National Institute of Health, our own US government, has had research on this connection for decades, but never told all of us? In fact, the National Institute of Health in 1999, if you read the book, it's a great book by T.S. Wiley called Lights Out, she says that the head of the NIH was asked the question, if all the research that the NIH has shows that exposure to the wrong type of light at night is associated with diabetes, heart disease, cancer, obesity, and infertility, know anybody with those problems today? Doesn't the American public deserve to know? And they said, of course the American public deserves to know, but nobody's ever going to turn out the lights. So, you don't have to turn out the lights, although that might be ideal after dark, but there are solutions. And during this talk, you're going to learn all of the reasons why this ultra-processed synthetic junk light that we've installed everywhere, from our screens to our overhead lights, is affecting our biology, and numerous ways that you can use today to fix your sleep, your health, and maybe even live longer. So if anyone's thinking of sneaking out the back and going to see Tom Cowan's talk, you can get so much, you can pay for your whole admission to Wise Traditions from just this one slide. This is really important information. Every study that's been done, and there's been numerous studies over the last few years, has shown that people that get more exposure to sunlight live longer. What the study shows is that people with more sunlight exposure die less from all causes than people who get less sunlight. That is a crazy fact, because we spend 95% of our time indoors under this ultra-processed light that was never intended to heal us. It was never intended to mimic nature. This indoor light was intended so that we could work longer into the night on like second and third shift. So all of these things can be mitigated, and you can probably live longer if you go outside. So we'd love to see some of these talks, like at some point in the future, have some sort of outdoor component. That would be great. But if you want to go duck out now, at least you took this one thing away, which is get outside, and the studies show you'll probably live longer. Now, for those of you that are going to stick around, you're going to learn a lot more secrets about light, and I guarantee no matter how much you know about light, you're going to learn something today, and you're going to walk away with more tips than just get outside. You're going to have really actionable tips by the end of this of how you can mitigate your light environment, this indoor environment that we spend 95% of our time in. And by the way, the 5% of time that we don't spend indoors, some of that time in the studies is time in your car with your windows rolled up. I don't count that as outdoor, but they do. So, little strange. Why should you listen to what I have to say? So that's me. That was 7 or 8 years ago, so I might have had shorter hair. I probably haven't cut it since 2020. And this was New York City at midnight. I don't usually stay up till midnight, but we went to see a show. You can see everything. This is what we do to our outdoor and indoor spaces now. So I had massive insomnia for over 16 years, and also social anxiety to the point where I worked 10 years in a pharmaceutical research lab. I was a research scientist, thinking I was doing really good things working in the pharmaceutical world, until I got my master's in holistic nutrition. And one of the courses I had to study in holistic nutrition was on Weston A. Price, and the textbook was Nourishing Traditions. And literally, I was standing at the top of a 10,000-gallon batch of pharmaceuticals made for kids. And I was the one designing the manufacturing process, so I had to teach the production people how to make this. So I'm pouring in a 55-gallon drum with skull and crossbones on it. I've got a bunny suit, I've got a respirator, it says cancer, and this is a children's pharmaceutical product. And I thought, like, I cannot do this anymore. So I have a background in chemical engineering, I have my master's in holistic nutrition, and I had a problem that I could not solve: insomnia and anxiety. And I tried everything. I took sleep supplements. Lots of you know that there's sleep supplements out there, and there's prescription, and there's over-the-counter. And I tried those, and I tried counting backwards from 100 by fours, 96, 92, 88. And like, okay, none of that was solving the problem. Like these supplements and all these techniques they give you, they're not actually solving the problem of why we can't sleep. And so what I did is I started researching more, reading all the research studies that the National Institute of Health has. You can go and Google them. They've got these published studies that show that our light environment, they even have a name for the light environment. It's called ALAN, A-L-A-N, artificial light at night. The NIH coined that term because they know that it's associated with all these negative outcomes, including trouble getting to sleep like I had. And so that studies are out there. Harvard Medical School has published an article that says the dark side of blue light. So there's all these things that I had no idea existed, and they were impacting my sleep and also causing more anxiety. Now, yes, I had to do some inner work to help with the anxiety, but once I got better sleep, it made a world of difference. And I got better sleep when I put on a pair of these blue light blocking glasses, because nobody had ever told me that our light environment affects our biology. And until I did that, my sleep was suffering. But when I solved the problem of changing my environment with really simple things, and most of these things are free, my sleep massively improved, and I cleaned up my anxiety. I got out of the pharmaceutical lab. I couldn't give presentations to people. I couldn't talk one-on-one, so I couldn't leave the pharmaceutical lab. So when I solved my sleep problem, I got a new job. I started learning all these things. I self-experimented and solved my own problem, and then started teaching others, and then taught others on big podcasts and got on stages. And I could do all of that because I fixed my sleep, and my anxiety got massively better. This is me with shorter hair and when I used to shave, right? So yes, that is me. My wife Heidi here took that photo in New York City. We wanted to go see Wicked, and we had to go to a late show. So that is midnight in New York City. So this might be me as you recognize me. So I love teaching this because I truly think that our environment is the first thing that we need to fix. And then diet and exercise, all of those things we love to do, the calories in, calories out argument or myth, all of those things are so much better when you're improving your environment that's all around you. So we love these supplements and there's all these great technologies. I think all of them work far better once you completely change and eliminate the negative things in your environment that are causing these stressors. Everything else gets better. Yes. So, 95% of our time spent indoors. With the invention of the electric light bulb and the electrification of our country, we all went from an agrarian society, originally hunters and foragers, to now being indoor men and women. 95% of our time indoors is a really big deal when our biology is actually tuned in to using natural light to run our hormones and our physiological processes. And I'm going to tell you which hormones and which processes are run by light and how to help mitigate that. But because these lights were never designed to work with our biology, but our biology is designed to work with light, these things that we're putting ourselves under have a massive effect. One of those effects is on something called melatonin. So a lot of people have heard of melatonin. Some people think of it as the sleep supplement. But it's a hormone in the body, and it's produced when we experience darkness. Most of us never experience darkness, so we never release melatonin from our body. Melatonin is the master anti-cancer, master antioxidant. It's the strongest antioxidant known to research scientists in our body that we make ourselves from serotonin, from tryptophan. We eat some tryptophan from some protein, it turns into serotonin, then it turns into melatonin later, and it gets released when our eyes experience darkness. But most of us have these LED lights and blinky lights, and we sleep with our phone, and whatever it is, we don't experience this darkness. And so we're eroding our melatonin and harming our health, because melatonin helps turn other hormones on and off. It helps turn our immune system on. It helps repair and rejuvenate us while we sleep. So some people might be saying, I get great sleep, I don't have a problem. But biologically, we are all the same. We're not rats and mice, they're nocturnal. We're not an owl, so this night owl concept is not biologically accurate for men and women. All of our biology is tuned to light, and specifically when we see blue light, which is why this slide is blue, it stops the production and the release of melatonin for up to 4 hours. So if you're sleeping for 8, that's half your night's melatonin. So you might fall asleep just fine. Some people won't, but most people can fall asleep if their melatonin is being destroyed. You won't feel it, but your body will notice that it's not repairing and rejuvenating. You might have more brain fog. You might, like me, wake up after 8 hours of sleep and feel like you didn't even sleep. So that's the melatonin function that does get turned off by receptors in our eye called melanopsin receptors. These were only discovered in the 2000s, and they read blue light from this artificial light because during the day we get outside and there's a blue sky. And we want cortisol to be high during the day so that we're awake and alert. We want to eliminate melatonin during the day. When we eliminate melatonin when we wake up, we're more sensitive to sugar and insulin. So we handle sugars better when we eliminate melatonin by seeing the daytime sky and getting rid of the melatonin and increasing cortisol, again, first thing in the morning. One of the things that I thought was also really interesting is that regardless of what we think of them, the American Medical Association in 2016, and you can Google this letter, they put out a warning letter on LED lights to the American public. And they warned us about the health impacts of putting these LED lights up in street lights because of the impact they're going to have on our nighttime health. So even the American Medical Association has a warning letter about this type of light at night. So one thing that light does in our body is it sets our clock. And so most of you have heard of circadian rhythm. And what that means is every cell in our body and every organ has a clock. And that clock is set by light through our eye. So when we're exposed to the right type of light, we set our circadian rhythm, and then every clock in our body follows the rhythm of light through our eye. The circadian rhythm is just the body's natural 24-hour cycle. It's built into our biology, and it's run by light and dark cycles. So when we see light and dark, that sets the circadian rhythm. Most people are not getting outside at dawn, and they're seeing light after sunset, which would never have been possible through all of our history, with the exception of firelight. And firelight does not have much blue light. It's got infrared and red and yellow, and it is not disruptive to our melatonin or our sleep. These modern lights are. So this circadian rhythm is really what keeps us optimally healthy. And so in 2017, the Nobel Prize in Medicine was given for 3 researchers that showed how circadian rhythm has a massive impact on our health. So it's a really big deal, and it's set by light. And that circadian rhythm is what's helping us learn where we are on Earth by reading the light, because the sun sets and rises at a different time everywhere we are and throughout the year. So it even tells us what season we're in. So why do animals change their coats for winter, some animals, and gain more weight or hibernate? They get those signals from the light. And so we get those same signals. We tend to gain more weight in the fall as the light stays a little bit lighter longer at the end of the summer. Carbohydrates are more available, so we're eating fruits and pies, then there's Thanksgiving, and then there's holidays. And so we're eating all these sugars at the same time other animals are storing sugars as fat for the coming winter. We do the same thing. The problem is winter never comes for us. So we keep the lights on all night in the winter. We continue to eat the same foods all year in the winter. And so our bodies continue to think that it is the end of summer and winter is coming and store more, crave more sugar, store more fat, whatever it is, but winter never comes. And so the circadian rhythm is what helps with all that based on light. So one of the things that may be true is that your light environment, as you see in this talk today, may be more important than diet and exercise to get right first. Not that those things are unimportant. You have to do those things as well. But if you're neglecting your light environment, then you don't have the full picture of how to be optimally healthy. And a really good example of this is our friend Todd. So Todd was a biohacker, is a biohacker still, knows everything about health and nutrition and diet, and he did the Whole30, and he's got his diet dialed in, and he's eating all the right foods. He's got every biohacking gadget and device that money can buy, but he had 45 pounds to lose, and for a year and a half couldn't lose the 45 pounds, and he just couldn't figure it out. And he came to a retreat of ours, and we talked about it, and we practiced some things that you're going to learn today, and he gave us an email a couple months later, and he says, "You'll never believe this. Like, in 6 weeks, I lost 45 pounds, and the only thing that I did differently was go outside at sunrise. No other change. The light alone allowed him to lose weight." Now, that's an anecdotal example, but a researched example for people that like the research, there was a study in 2017 of 2 mice. So they had 2 groups of mice, exactly the same types of mice, right? They always study the same types. And so they exercised the same. So they had the little hamster wheel, and they measured how much exercise and how many calories they were expending. So that's energy out or calories out. And they fed them the same diet. The 2 groups of mice had the same diet. So they measured how much they were eating. So they ate the same number of calories, and they exercised the same. One group of mice had 24 hours of light in their cage. The other group of mice had 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. The mice that had 24 hours of light became obese, and the mice that had 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness were normal weight. Same exercise and food. The only difference was the light, and one group of mice became obese literally from just having light 24 hours a day as the only difference. So when you think light is not a big deal, I think it's a really big deal. And with the number of people that have issues with thyroid hormone or infertility or whatever it is, Yes, there's electromagnetic frequencies and microwaves, and I love to talk about that as well. I could do a whole talk just on that. But the light environment is an easy thing to get right first, and it's a really big hammer that's hitting our body all day long, and we really need to change that environment. As I was researching and learning how to solve my own insomnia problem, right, I was taking a pill to go to sleep at night. And when I solved my problem, and I talked about it online, I got invited to give a TEDx talk, as thank you, Hilda, you mentioned. And in the research that I did, I found out 100 million of us, 100 million Americans, take some sort of pill to fall asleep every night. So I think we have a problem with sleep if there's 100 million of us. And those pills have side effects. So my wife loves this photo, so she wanted me to put it up here. So she's like, you can go to sleep with light without side effects, where pills have side effects. And with 100 million of us, probably people in this room, me included long ago, we're taking pills to help sleep. The pills aren't addressing the problem, right? So the problem is when we see artificial light at night, Alan, we're destroying our melatonin. So even if you fall asleep, like I said, you're still destroying the melatonin. That's a biological fact that we just can't get away from. And a lot of us want better sleep. So I'm telling you, like, if you can fix your light environment at night when we're supposed to experience darkness and release melatonin and start repairing and rejuvenating any damage we did during the day, we've got glyphosate, we've got electromagnetic frequencies, we got fluoride, whatever it is, like the cells need to repair and rejuvenate. They're just bombarded by things from the air and the water and just all sorts of things that we need help fixing. So that melatonin is really what does that cleanup of the mitochondria and the cells at night. And so the blue frequency of light hitting our melanopsin receptors shut down the melatonin, and then many of us find that we can't get to sleep. Our mind is racing because the blue light stimulates cortisol. So we get this stress response, and then that feeds on itself. And for me, it was like 2 a.m. and I still couldn't sleep. I was like mixing up like 5-HTP with collagen and solubilizing it because I'm a chemical engineer and putting it in water and put it next to my bed, and I would drink that and it would help me sleep. But it wasn't helping my hormones, and it was not helping with the actual problem. So pills, not ideal. There are consequences to those, to both your health and because of the side effects. So what can we do about all this? Number one, and the easiest thing, and this is what Todd did, and it's 100% free, is you get outside at dawn. Like, it's so easy. Most people, because these things are free, they're like, if you give me a prescription or you give me a pill or you tell me this supplement has like all these studies, I'm going to do it. Well, this has a lot of studies behind it as well, and it's completely free, and it's designed to work with our biology. Like, it's how nature created us. And getting outside at dawn is different than any other time of the day. There's no UV light at dawn. So like people are like, oh, UV, whatever, it can help create vitamin D, and UV gives us a tan, and it releases nitric oxide to lower blood pressure. That's all true, but at dawn there's no UV. So if your vitamin D is low and you're getting out at dawn, you're not going to get more vitamin D. What you will get is a significant increase in testosterone for men, significant increase in estrogen for women. Your hormones turn on with this light with no UV present. It sets your melatonin clock for 16 hours. So 16 hours after you see the sunrise in the morning, your melatonin is triggered to be released. So for people that are night owls, that are getting up at noon, looking at their devices, getting online, and going outside at 2 p.m., their melatonin clock is now set for like 4 a.m. And they might be getting up the next day to go to work. So sometimes they're not going to release that melatonin when they design their life slightly differently than nature intended. Morning sunrise also, there's been numerous studies done that show that you get better sleep at night literally by just getting outside at dawn. That means within 30 minutes of sunrise. It rises at a different time all year. So in Wisconsin, it's like almost 8 a.m. right now, but in the summer, it would be 5 a.m. It's inconvenient to get up and get outside at sunrise, but I would argue that cancer, obesity, and diabetes are pretty inconvenient as well. And so people always ask, like, what do I do? Well, you're in your car commuting to work, roll your window down, open your sunroof. You're at home, open a window. Even if it's winter, I will open a window. If I'm stuck in a meeting, sitting on Zoom, I'll open a window, I'll have a red light shining on me. If I'm at work, so sometimes I go to corporate headquarters. I also have a corporate job. I go to corporate headquarters once in a while. I actually left my corporate job to work from home I designed that on purpose so I could have a better light environment, so I could exercise during the day, so I could do some push-ups like in meetings, which is not really looked upon so friendly at work when you're in the corporate meeting. But I wanted that control over my environment. So I have been working remotely for 18 years, but when I go back to corporate headquarters, people used to go outside like every half hour to have a smoke break, right? Well, you can go outside and have a light break. The light has a quantum effect on our body. Like a little tiny amount has a big impact on our biology. So when you can, like, get outside. Nature's light is what's critical. If at all possible, it's not possible for everybody, but this is really helpful. And all of these things are circadian cues, which change our biology. Have your coffee after you see the light. And I know that's inconvenient when it rises at 8:30 in the morning and you're already at work for the day, but like have some lemon water and like make your coffee and do the ritual, but just don't drink it till you see the light. Because when you're having more cortisol from the coffee, like coffee can be like a shot of cortisol, it's okay once you've seen the light, but if you haven't cleared the melatonin and seen the natural sunlight to set the right amount of cortisol, your cortisol can get much higher. And then people have this reaction where they have too high of cortisol and they start getting stressed and anxious at work. So if you can, it really does make a difference. Like wait till 9 a.m. or just wait a little bit longer. In the summer, 6 a.m. because you saw the sunrise at 5:30. Like then have your coffee. And if you can also do this tip is really, really helpful for people that are trying to lose weight. So if you know anyone that's trying to lose weight, or maybe you are, having your first meal of the day right after you see sunrise, like within 30 minutes of seeing the sun, having your first meal, and if you can, make it your biggest meal with the highest amount of protein. Like even if you get like 50 or 70 grams of protein in that morning meal, it helps to reset this hormone called leptin. And there's actually a whole article online by Dr. Jack Kruse. So when I was studying all these things, I did study with Dr. Jack Kruse for a number of years. And he has a protocol. It's called the Leptin RX Reset. It's free. You can just type it into Google. It will bring you to this protocol that tells you how to reset your leptin, which is needed for most people trying to lose weight in our modern society. And literally seeing the sunrise and then getting your first meal within 30 minutes of seeing the sun absolutely helps set your leptin and can help you lose weight. It resets your circadian rhythm. And what most people are doing, especially in like this community and maybe others, is they're doing this intermittent fasting, which is great, but it might not be great in the morning. Like I would argue, especially as we get towards winter, when the sun sets in our climate at 4, maybe 4:30 p.m., eat your last meal before the sun sets. So all the studies show that people that eat their last meal after the sun sets always weigh more than people that eat their last meal before the sun sets. We gain weight when our cells are trying to like rest, digest, and rejuvenate, and we're eating and we're shoving a bunch more energy and calories in there. They need that time to also be sleeping, essentially. So significant increase in weight for people that are studied that eat dinner after dark. So if you can eat that last meal at 4 p.m. and then not eat again till after sunrise, your intermittent fasting becomes 16 to 18 hours. It's just at a different time of the day than in the morning. And especially people that have anxiety or you're like really stressed at work, intermittent fasting in the morning plus coffee can be like a massive additional stressor. And so eating in the morning can actually make people much calmer and lower your cortisol and lower your stress and anxiety. And then you can fast at the nighttime and you can still eat 3 meals. Like I know, again, it's inconvenient to eat a meal at 4:30 p.m. for dinner, and then your kids come home from sports and they want to eat. So, you know, my wife and I, when that would happen, we would still sit down with the kids and prepare them dinner, but we wouldn't eat. We would be intermittent fasting from 4:30 till 8 the next morning. You can try that, and I found that very successful. We talked about this already, so I'm going to skip through here. One of the things that most of us are not going to do is use firelight at night and go to bed when it gets dark. So think about our ancestors, like it's 1820, you're living in New York City, it didn't look like that one photo that I had up there, it was dark, there were probably no street lights even back then, candles were expensive, so working late into the night just didn't happen for our ancestors. So when it got dark, there was only so much you could do after dark, and there was only so many candles you can afford to burn. And so shortly after dark, we would be sleeping, which meant, on average, we slept 500 hours more in 1910 than we do today. So if you want more sleep and you're not getting great sleep, you could use firelight at night. So not everyone's going to light with candles and a fire. In our home, we did install a wooden stove because we like the wood heat, but also that firelight, like having this little fire ceremony before bed, kind of like a family tradition. It can be really powerful. However, if you're going to be out and about, or your family isn't willing to not have screens or lights on, then just getting on a pair of blue light blocking glasses, because what the blue light blocking glasses do is they block the blue wavelength of light, that's why they're called blue light blocking, from entering your eye. And so the melanopsin receptor in our eye reads the blue light, increases cortisol, and destroys melatonin. So if you just put on a pair of glasses, you don't even have to change your home lighting. And like, yes, we sell blue light blocking glasses. We have a booth like way in the back over here, so definitely come visit us. But you can buy a really inexpensive pair on Amazon, like safety glasses. They used to be like $2. I don't know what they are now, but for $2, you could have got like Uvex orange safety glasses. And you could try it. They don't look pretty, but you could see spend 2 weeks wearing a pair of glasses after sunset and see how you sleep and see how you feel. And for me, it made all the world of difference in my life because I got out of the pharmaceutical industry, I changed jobs, like I met my wife, like all these things happened because I was able to solve my insomnia and anxiety. For your bedroom, especially so we've got an Airbnb here, right? And there's like crazy amounts of light coming in all the windows. And for whatever reason, so we've got 4 bedrooms in the Airbnb, we have blackout curtains in our bedroom. But none of the other people staying in our Airbnb do. So they're like freaking out because in the middle of the night, these massive bright lights are shining on the body. And there was a anecdotal study, I think it was Suzanne Summers. She did this study where they shine like a little pen light, like a pen flashlight on the back of her knee. And this might have actually been written up in a research study. That light alone was enough to change her circadian rhythm and destroy melatonin in the body, even through the skin. So we do have melanopsin receptors in the rest of our body, but they're most active in the eye. And so at night, blackout curtains, like make your bedroom black. Everyone's got these like charge cords and the smoke alarm and blinky LED lights everywhere. Like those little things can have an impact. We should have a pitch dark bedroom when we go to sleep. So I carry black electrical tape with me in my backpack when I travel. So at the hotel or Airbnb, I'll tape over those little lights. And then in the hotel, like the blackout curtains never stay closed. They always have this gap. And like you try to close them and then the gap and the street lights are like right above your room. And so what I found is like this crazy trick. You go and take a coat hanger. And there's always one coat hanger at the hotel that has the little clips on it to like clip your pants on or whatever. And you take those clips and you close the curtains and clip them closed. Those little things like for your light environment, like they can make a big difference. So like think about like when I learned how massive this light environment was, and more research comes out every day, I was like, how do I take control of my own environment? So like that's just one way to think about, like, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm traveling, I'm just gonna do whatever, and then like I'm supposed to be relaxed and rejuvenated and recreated after travel, and I feel like I need a vacation from vacation. So some of that's the light environment. Okay, so sunset, we should be seeing firelight or darkness. But most of us, especially because they banned incandescents for a while, I guess now they're back, but they're still hard to find. Most of us put in LEDs because they save energy, right? And the problem with LED lights or fluorescent lights, even incandescent at night, they have too much blue light. They have these massive spikes of blue light because they're actually, since 2005, and that's why like LED lights started becoming more popular. Like we had these like curly Q compact fluorescents forever, and like they're awful because of mercury. The light was really bad. But we didn't have LEDs back in the early 2000s because they couldn't make white light from an LED very well. They were using like green and yellow and red LED chips. and you couldn't make a really good looking light that looked like these crazy white lights. So in 2005, they started making this blue LED chip. It's a driver, so it's a light emitting diode, and the driver just turns on and off with every cycle of the electricity. So in the US, that's like 60 times a second. And blue light can create, like, with a couple other tweaks, can make a white light. So once we started driving all the LEDs with blue light, they went everywhere. They just went viral. And actually, like, Philips now says they invented the LED light, and they charge anyone who sells LED lights a fee because they are the owner of the LED technology, because they bought every company that had anything to do with LED pens. It's a genius move on their part. But they started making every LED, so your phone screens, your tablets, your televisions, the overhead lights, your refrigerator light, it's all based on a blue LED driver. And that's like the exact wrong type of light for nighttime for our biology. And so once they started doing that and they put those lights everywhere, we all put them in our homes, we saved money on electricity, great, but we were kind of eroding our health because of that. So you can buy blue-free LEDs. Personally, we put in like red lights in our house. Like if you look at our house from the outside, there might be pictures online somewhere, like it's red, it's like Halloween. But those red lights, like, they don't impact your melatonin like a blue LED or a white LED will. So you can also get amber, like blue light free amber lights that look a little more natural. And I'm going to show you some photos of what some of these things look like in a home. So some people think, like, I'll never put red lights. My husband will never go for that, right? It's always the guys for whatever reason. Like, I don't know why, but the women are always like, this light is so intense, it's like being in a hospital, right? And it's like so white and bright. Can we dim the lights? And the guys are always like, no, we need more lights everywhere. And I don't know why, I'm not that way, but I hear that story all the time. So what you can do is, like, even if you do nothing else, overhead lights are more harmful at night just because of the angle coming to your eye than like lamps. So having lights on at night that are just at a lower level can make a really big difference. Now, if those lights are blue light free, even better. Salt rock lamps also work. People are like, what about salt rock lamps? Yep, those are awesome because they're like orangey and red. So lower lights, dimmer lights, if you can do the blue light blocking glasses, great. If you can do red lights, even better. So like our personal strategy is, like, at our house, our kitchen, don't put red lights in your kitchen. Like, doesn't work, your food looks gray, you cut yourself and you're just like, why is my hand wet? Like, I don't know, you can't see red because everything's red. And so, like, don't do that. So we have incandescent lights in our kitchen, but every other room has red, infrared, because we're missing infrared. We come indoors in the winter and we're like, why do I have seasonal effectiveness disorder? Like, we're under these lights, which are a mismatch to our biology, and we came out of the sun, which has red, infrared, ultraviolet. None of those are present indoors. So when we bring those frequencies back indoors through firelight, through infrared light, through incandescent light, through sauna, in the winter, we can overcome SAD without those crazy blue SAD lights. Those SAD lights that are blue, they have high intensity, which is awesome. But they're blue. Like, you're getting poisoned with all this blue light. Like, Tom Cowan talks about this. Like, did anyone think, like, people are getting sick and they have hormone problems? Like, did someone add a toxin or a poison to this environment? Like, the blue light is one of those poisons. And when we're in the winter, the windows allow all the blue light in, but none of the UV, and it eliminates 50% of the red and infrared. So we're getting more blue light from the window, and then we put a big SAD light that's bright blue right in our face. So we need higher intensity light in the winter because we're missing that from outside. But if you bring back red, infrared, and ultraviolet indoors in some way, that actually makes a massive difference versus the bright blue light. So at sunset, dim the lights. If you got a pair of blue light blocker, put them on. If you can use lower, like lamps, even better. If you can use firelight, awesome. There is a story, it was 2020, so this was like December 2020, right? So like everything shut down. And some of us still met in person in groups like this, even in 2020. And so I was driving to one of those, I was speaking. There was 3 speakers, and it was at like 7 o'clock at night in Wisconsin in December, so like it gets dark at 4:30. So I'm on the highway, I'm late, there's 3 speakers and I'm one of them, and we're gonna be late to this church, Calvary Assembly Church, and we're talking about the virus, and like trying to help people out because everyone's all like panicked, just like December 2020, right? And we're all meeting together. There was 200 people there, and I missed the exit on the highway. And so I was like, crap. So I'm driving faster. So I'm like, let's just get to the next exit and turn around. And I get pulled over. So like now I'm even later. So I get pulled over by a state trooper, and he like comes to the side door. Heidi's in the seat next to me, and he has the side window rolled down, and he's looking at me, and he's like, can you take your glasses off? So he's looking at my ID, got my glasses off, and then he says, are those blue light blocking glasses you're wearing? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, do they protect your eyes against these ridiculous headlights? It's like, do you want to try them on? And so he tries them on, and he's like, okay, you guys can go. So I got out of a ticket, and I guarantee you state troopers are now wearing blue light blocking glasses, at least in Wisconsin. Because I call these weaponized headlights. And again, American Medical Association has a warning letter about the weaponized headlights. They say that they're so ridiculously bright, and if anyone's driven at night, like you know how bright these are. I keep a pair of these glasses like actually I keep 5 pairs, but we make them so I can have extra. So I keep 5 pairs in my console, so when these headlights are just flashing me, then I can put these on and protect my eyes. And it actually makes a really big difference because they're too intense, and the level of brightness at night is just going to trigger your melatonin to be destroyed. It's going to trigger cortisol to be higher, and they don't need to be quite that bright. And they don't need to be the 7,000 Kelvin temperature. They can be a lower temperature, like more yellow, and still work really well. The other thing is like some people with LED, they tend to flicker, right? And so with that flicker, that can cause stress and even migraines for some people during the day. So like the overhead fluorescent lights are now overhead LEDs in the office spaces. Sometimes that'll cause our brain, even though we don't see the lights flickering, they flicker at a rate that our brain notices, but our eyes don't. So some of that flicker stress from LEDs is well known to cause issues with stress in our brain and sometimes migraines. And so getting the right type of LEDs that don't flicker, or an incandescent light that doesn't flicker, or some people are going to go this far, running your lights off direct current, DC power. It's constant electrons to the light, and it's not going to make it flicker, even if you're using an LED. So there's a lot more technology and companies coming out that are making direct current technologies, and battery power does the same thing. It's direct current that you can use. So like people use like, a battery powered night light or a reading light or a desk lamp that's battery powered. So even though it's LED, it's blue light free, but it's not flickering. So you can even get some LED lights where you can see the flicker, especially if you use your phone, like take your phone and video, and you'll sometimes see the flicker. That's one that's gonna mess with your brain and cause stress. So all LEDs are gonna flicker no matter what, unless they're on direct current. That's just how the chip works. But what you wanna do is find an LED chip, and you can find these online. It's called like color rendering index and flicker percentage. Find one that has higher flicker to where the brain can't detect it. Lower flicker we can sense. So some people think like more flicker is worse. To a point it is, but then once the flicker gets high enough, it just looks like it's always on to your brain. Okay, very controversial. Most people think we need 8 hours of sleep every night because that's what we've always been told. But in fact, I would guarantee you that if we slept less in summer, because it's light all the time, there's a lot more to do, you're harvesting, you're collecting berries, you're eating more, you're out late with friends, you don't have to sleep as much in summer if you sleep more in winter. So if you can sleep like 9.5 hours or more in winter, and I know that's challenging, but when they did research studies on mice, the mice that slept for 9.5 hours were unable to get cancer when the researchers were trying to give the mice cancer, and they were predisposed to cancer. That's that they were using these oncogene mice that are predisposed to getting cancer. The ones that slept for 9.5 hours, they couldn't give them cancer I think it was Johns Hopkins University that ran that study. So if you sleep more in winter, you begin to reverse what you did in the summer. Like the winter can be the time to come in and like get into your spiritual side and do more prayer and family tradition and things like that are winding you down and getting more sleep before summer comes and you're not going to sleep as much. All right, so we talked about our lighting plan. So right, normal lights in the kitchen, incandescent, because I like the infrared coming from those, so we can see the food. But every other room in our house has red and infrared lights. And then in our bedroom, we do have overhead lights. We have one red and one incandescent, and we can turn them on separately. So like if it's during the day and you need to see like what clothes you're wearing, you turn the normal light on, but at night it's only red. And in our bathroom, the same. We have like regular bright white lights, so you can, if, not me, but my wife puts on makeup, or you need to shave or whatever, you've got a normal light. But then at night, we have red and infrared lights in the bathroom. And then in our hallway, we have like a red strip light, so you don't have to turn on the crazy lights to go to the bathroom. And then in our bedroom, even though we have a red light, we don't turn on the overhead light at night. I really think it's impactful for our health and our sleep that we don't. So we just have like battery-powered reading lights that are amber and red, and we have no screens in bed. That's kind of one of our rules. Like I know a lot of people sleep with your cell phone. If it's on airplane mode, it'll still work as an alarm clock. All that's good. Keep it like somewhere out of sight and not that bright light that turns the clock on all the time and blasts you with this blue light. So we have like these red, infrared, and amber blue light free lights in our bedroom only, and they're battery powered. And that just really helps mitigate all the electromagnetic frequencies as well. Red lights in your home is not for everybody, but again, you can use incandescent, you can use lamps, you can use Himalayan rock salt lamps, and you can use like amber, which I'll show you here. I'm just going to show you these lights here. There's a lot in here. You can see the altered spectrum of light. So even halogen and incandescent don't look like sunlight. So we think like incandescent are better, which they are, but they still don't look like sunlight. When you get to the fluorescent and the LEDs, like these spikes of blue and other frequencies are super alien to our biology. So, lighting strategy. You've got, this is our, my mother-in-law's bedroom, so you can see the regular LED light. It's like white, it's kind of bright, and then you can see an amber light, blue light free, and then a red light. So like you can kind of pick your choice of what's acceptable. And this is, again, our same bedroom. Amber, blue light free on one side, and a regular bright LED. And you can see, like, again, Heidi's dad sleeps on the bright light side, and Heidi's mom is like okay with a more warm, like blue light free light. So again, I don't know why guys just love such bright lights, but it affects your biology too, guys, not just women. So this just shows the melatonin suppression of different types of light. And so your phones, which is like your LED lights, like up to 80% reduction of melatonin after being exposed to those lights. And brightness matters, right? So if you can dim your phone, it is less impactful than a bright phone. Even a phone like your iPhone can turn red, great, but then you can't see it, so you turn the brightness way up. That's not ideal either. But even incandescent light, like almost half your melatonin can be destroyed with incandescent. So even incandescent isn't like really the answer. Firelight would be, darkness would be preferred, but now again, people are making LEDs that don't contain any blue light. So if you're going to make some changes, like pick some things that you can do. Getting outside at dawn, bonus points if you're barefoot and grounded, and if you do a little bit of movement, because we have this melatonin that we need to clear in the morning. And so seeing the sun, being grounded, and doing a little movement is going to clear that melatonin, and then you set your circadian rhythm up and you lower your stress for the whole day. Eating your largest meal, and I know this is really hard because like I work at 6:30 in the morning. So I work on East Coast time, and half of my team is in the UK, Italy, and India. And so I have like a full-time corporate job. So when I go and do that, like I start work at like 6 or 6:30. So having my largest meal first thing in the morning is really challenging when I'm in meetings the whole time and I'm on like camera. So it is ideal though to eat your largest meal first. So after you see the sunlight, eating your largest meal, having a pretty big lunch, and then a smaller dinner, not everyone can do it. I don't always do it all the time, but it definitely helps with sleep and circadian rhythm. Okay, so right, we started, because of everything we learned, we used to just educate people for free. So I used to have an online platform called Primal Hacker, which some people know of, and so I was on a lot of podcasts, and I just did all this free education for like over a decade. And I've tested like every pair of blue blockers out there and every red light and infrared light and all those. People would just send packages to my house. And it was great. And I had a spectrometer and I'm like checking them all out. And so we finally like created and designed a company specifically for luxury circadian wellness for women, because there was nothing really speaking to women. It was like all like bro biohackers, and it's like that's the people they were talking to. So my wife had this great idea, like why don't we tailor some really beautiful glasses and lighting for women? We do have some for men, so I'm wearing some. But that was like, we decided to do this and figure out like how do we help more people get better sleep that are outside of like the biohacking space who have never heard of this, like new moms and women like at Weston A. Price Foundation, like people that maybe haven't heard the whole light environment talk. How can we bring them in and try to keep our prices as low as possible? So at the end of the day, remember like our ancestors were always exposed to the right type of light. And our biology like was intelligently designed to make use of sunlight. Like we go outside in the sunlight, we put on sunglasses, which sunglasses were designed for these lights in front of me. Most people don't know this. Like the Inuit didn't have sunglasses. They had like these slits in bone or wood to protect their eyes from like ice and snow. That's probably like a good time to use sunglasses. But otherwise, sunglasses were designed for movie stars to use because the studio lights were so bright that they started wearing these dark glasses. And then all of the people that saw the movie stars were like, well, how can I look like a movie star? So Sam Foster, the Foster Grants, started mass producing sunglasses for normal people to look like movie stars. But originally, these were actually light glasses for indoor studio lights. They were never designed for outdoor use. So ditching your sunglasses when you're outdoors can actually help because our eyes have not only melanopsin to read blue light, but neuropsin receptors to read ultraviolet light. So we need to read all the spectrum and frequency of light as nature designed. And Dr. Jack Kruse always has this thing of you put a tarp over an orange tree and it's gonna shrivel up and die. And when we put on like all the sunscreen and we cover up and wear hats and our sunglasses, we're also eliminating our exposure to nature's light. And not that you shouldn't practice safe sun exposure, but we do need to be exposed to some of nature's light. So if we go back to like what our ancestors did and pretend it's $9.99, what would they have done? They would have gone to bed earlier in winter. They would have been outdoors way more often. They would have had no exposure and no ability to be exposed to blue light because they had firelight and they had moonlight at night, and that was it. Like our bodies were just never designed for these artificial synthetic lights. And now that's what we've surrounded ourselves with. So if you take nothing else away, getting outside will help you live longer, numerous studies, and going to bed earlier in the winter so you get more sleep is like one of those little hacks that you can incorporate into your life. Even if it's only a half hour, I guarantee you, like if you're just like, let me go to bed a half hour earlier or set my alarm, instead of getting up at 5, I'll get up at 5:30. I guarantee you're gonna feel different. You're gonna have more motivation, less brain fog. You're just going to feel better, and your body will start rejuvenating and repairing itself when you stop exposing it to environmental toxins, as Tom Cowan likes to talk about. So anything that you can do to take control over your environment will help your biology be optimized, rejuvenated, and help you live longer. So please take control of your environment. A lot of these things can be completely free. Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to invite everybody to come up here.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming and taking control of your health.
Okay, I want to ask you, I've got transition glasses on.
Yep.
And I've always used those. So am I harming myself by having the transition because it's to stop the UV?
Okay, right. So most people, the question, the question was about transition glasses. So people have contacts that are designed to block UV light. People have glasses that transition when you go outside to darken and block UV light.
Now it is.
My personal opinion, and based on a lot of the research, is showing that if you can get contacts, get them without the UV coating, they exist. And if you have glasses, to not use the darkening feature when you're outdoors. But if you do have it, all you have to do is like put them on the bridge of your nose when you're outside to get natural sunlight in your eye. And then it only takes a little bit. So you can have them down on the bridge of your nose, get the natural sunlight, and put them back up. So like you don't have to get rid of your glasses if you have transition glasses. But if you are putting on sunglasses outside, some people will argue, I have blue eye. I mean, I don't, but you have blue eyes, and you're more sensitive to sunlight. Getting outside at dawn, you don't have to stare directly at the sun. Just being outside when it's dawn, the sunlight gets in your eye, will start to allow your eyes to be less sensitive to the sun. And in fact, people with blue eyes, my mom and our friend Todd included, can now go outdoors without any sunglasses whatsoever because they started getting out at dawn and retrained their eyes how to use the sunlight and not be so sensitive.
Okay, and at night when I go to sleep, I put a cloth over, a dark washcloth over my eyes, and I'm covered up with a sheet or something. Can I do that? Because I don't want to do black curtains.
Yeah, so like the cheap hack, right, is an eye mask and to cover up. So absolutely, can you put on an eye, like that's what we do when we're in hotels and Airbnbs. We can't cover everything all the time. So eye mask and cover up with the sheets, you're totally fine. Yep. It's just something like when I do that, like I'll turn and the eye mask comes up and then the bright light shines in my eye and I wake up. But yeah, the cheap hack, especially if you're traveling. So like you're traveling on an airplane, bring an eye mask, bring earplugs, like whatever it is, it makes a big difference.
Hi, thank you so much. I just have a couple quick questions. Where did you get your master's?
So my master's it was in holistic nutrition, and I got it from the now defunct school. It was Clayton College of Natural Health. And in 2020, they lost their charter. So luckily, I finished my degree in 2006. But it was a really great school in Alabama. And they gave naturopathic degrees and holistic nutrition degrees, but they no longer exist, unfortunately.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay. Do they make blue blockers with prescription?
They do. So there's a number of blue light blocking companies. Of course, we have one, but I think Bond Charge and Raw Optics have online, you put in your prescription, and also Viva Rays has prescription glasses. So you can go online to those companies, put your prescription in. I think they're like $400 or $500 to do prescriptions, somewhere in that range, but they definitely can do them.
But only certain companies. Not
There's
like
only a
just
few,
in
like
general.
we're working on it. It's really hard to find a manufacturer that can do prescriptions. Your optometrist can do it. They just don't buy the coating. So like any optometrist has the ability to put the blue light blocker on your prescription. So you can ask your optometrist if they're willing to do it.
Okay.
It's called 550 BPI. That's the tint. It's just a dip tint. They dip it in blue tech. They dip it in UV coating. They dip it in this. They could dip it in 550 BPI, and that's the orange blue light blocking.
Okay. Then, so I have LEDs at home, but I've turned them all down. Does that not do much?
So they're on a dimmer. So when LEDs are on a dimmer.
Or like they're turned down to like the lowest like Kelvin.
Oh, I see.
So they're like warm light.
That's, yes. So Kelvin is a measure of color temperature. So the lower the color temperature, the more like yellow, red, orange. The higher the temperature, the more white and blue. So if you get a color temperature that's below 2300, I like 1800. 1800 Kelvin in an LED will look like kind of a warm amber LED. That's probably okay. The only ideal way is to measure with a spectrometer.
Yes.
There's some guys at the daylight booth out there that have one.
Okay.
So if you see how they measure with a spectrometer, you'll know for sure.
But you still get the flicker, you think?
It depends.
Okay.
Mostly with LEDs, yours don't sound like they are, but if they're on a dimmer switch, when you dim an LED, it's a really big magnetic field. Not so much flicker, they will flicker, but there's a big magnetic field from dimmers. So all the building biologists are like, get rid of the dimmer switches from your house.
Yeah, mine's like a switch on my light bulb, like to
Okay,
turn
so that's
down
different.
the, okay.
So you might have like a Philips Hue or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the lowest, just put it on the lowest Kelvin setting at night. There's going to be a lot more circadian rhythm lighting. that will be tunable to different color temperatures for just this reason. So they're coming, and you've got kind of an early version. I don't know if it goes light enough, but
Yeah, okay, thank you so much.
yeah, of course.
First of all, thank you. Great presentation. Love it.
Appreciate it.
I've been following the whole circadian thing for a long time, so it's awesome. My question is this. So if you have the LED lights, if you put some sort of red film over it, does that help? Like just
Yes.
over the regular?
So yeah, so if you've got a normal light, and some people like in chiropractic offices, our chiropractor at home has those like fluorescent lights because he rents a studio space, right? So he has a film, so just a red film. You can buy tail light tape on Amazon. It's just red gel tape or stickers, and you can put that red over your normal lights. So in our refrigerator, I took 3M taillight tape and taped it over the refrigerator bulb that's a bright blue LED. And so our refrigerator is even red light. But yes, you can definitely do that, and it does work. Awesome. And I measure with a spectrometer to make sure that that was acceptable, and it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay, I have seen some of the cheaper like glasses brands say that they have the blue light blocking. Is there a huge range if I go to Raw Optics versus like Zenni?
Yep. There is a big range in blue light blocking tint. So some inexpensive blue light blockers are great. Like nothing wrong with them. They block all the right light. And so this is what I did. I was saying I had a spectrometer, and I got all the stuff off Amazon at the time, which wasn't a lot back in the day, 2015. Now there's a lot more. And I tested all of them, from Raw Optics to Swannies to whatever. And there was a really big range. I actually found that Swannies were letting in a bunch of blue light. And so I called James Swanwick, and he's like, oh my God, thank you. And they switched their lens manufacturer. So they didn't realize they started out with a lens manufacturer that was great, and then they upgraded, and for some reason the coating that was being used wasn't enough. And so they were alerted to that and immediately fixed it. So yes, some blue light blocking glasses are like clear, but they say that they block blue light, and they do. They block like 2%, which is not quite enough, and especially not enough at night. At night, you want to block 100% of blue light, like minimum 98%, but ideally 100%. So there's different versions. There's red or there's orange lenses like these, right? These are orange. They're going to block 100% of blue light. Then you see some like Raw Optics that do red lenses. Those are going to block 100% of blue light and green light. Some people are sensitive to green light. What I found is even if you're sensitive to green light, most people won't wear the red lenses because you can't see anything in those lenses. I fell down 2 flights of stairs wearing my Raw Optics, and my wife makes fun of me all the time because I did that, because I just can't see enough with the red lenses. So most people just won't wear them, and they'll just not wear their blue blockers. So I make the kind that have amber or orange lenses that block 100% of the blue, because then people will actually wear them. They don't block so much light that you can't see anything, and wearing red lights, everything just looks gray. So while those are probably the ideal glasses to wear, no doubt, people just stop wearing them because they're too dark.
And so, but you want to change off if you're wearing prescription glasses, right? Because during the day you need all the light.
So
outside.
yeah, people with prescription, there's like a number of solutions. Like if I had prescription, I would probably get 2 pairs of glasses, a daytime and a nighttime. I'd have a daytime dip coating like in this yellow, and I had a nighttime prescription in this orange. They do have a company called Viva Rays out of Mexico, Rudy Nassif, if anyone knows Rudy. They have prescriptions. They're no UV coating, so he did it really well. And then they have no blue light blocker on them at all, but there's no UV. And what you do is they have magnets on them. So he has a daytime clip-on that the magnets clip over your prescriptions, and then a nighttime red that clips over for night. So he has a day and night version for prescription that just magnetize to your lenses. They're like $450, but it's probably cheaper than buying 2 pairs of blue light blocking prescriptions. So that's Viva Rays, V-I-V-A Rays. He's a friend of ours. His name's Rudy. It's great. He has got a really good company. They don't have a lot of styles, but they do prescription. They don't put UV coating on, and he's got all the clip-on or magnetized lenses. He does a really good job. So Viva Rays.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Question. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm a trainer. and I'm training at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Some of the days, I mean, I'll have that window, and again, I train from home, Pilates at the studio, and I can get how much of that morning sun when I'm able to get it is, I heard 10 to 15 minutes.
So 15 minutes would be ideal. I mean, that's like the minimum ideal if you can.
Okay.
But even 2 to 5 minutes of morning sun it's a quantum effect in our biology.
Okay.
So if you can get 2 to 5 minutes, like,
So I can just say I'm out. Like,
Right.
I'm leaving, I'm out. You know,
Exactly
stretch for a little
right.
minute.
I'll be right back.
So really just 2 or 3 minutes of
if that's all you can get, absolutely. If you can't, if you can get a full spectrum light in the studio when you're
Okay,
up that
that was
early.
my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not ideal. Like, you're still going against your biology, but if you're going to do it and you're going to be awake and alert, like, see if you can find a full spectrum light that has some red and infrared in it with blue, because now it's morning time and you're training, right?
Yes.
So blue, red, and infrared, and if you can add that to your studio lighting, that'd
That
be
would be
great.
that's
But if you
perfect.
can, like, sneak away for
I mean, the
a
days
couple
that
minutes.
I can, but the days that I can't, it's like really,
The other thing you could do is if you wear blue blockers during that time,
Okay.
and then as soon as you can get outside, take them off and get outside.
okay.
So
Yeah,
your
and
body
I've never
knows.
done the sunglasses. I find the more people wear sunglasses, you need the sunglasses. So
Yes.
I've never been a proponent, even before understanding the
Nice.
benefits of it.
Some people intuitively are.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a full spectrum sauna, infrared sauna, so I mean, that
Yeah.
I use that daily as well. But thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Wonderful information.
appreciate it.
Hi, thanks again for everything. My first question is with the red, I have the red blue light blocking glasses, so they can't see anything when I'm in my house. But when I'm out driving at night, it's not even enough for the headlights that are coming at me.
Don't wear those red. I wore red at night. I wore my raw optics at night before I had my own glasses, and I missed pedestrians on the side of the street because I didn't hit anybody, but they were standing there, and after I passed, I was like, oh my God, I didn't see, my glasses are so dark. And street lights, like the traffic lights, there's a green light when it's green, but they block green light. So I'm like, why is the traffic light like broken? So I stopped at the green light because I thought the power was out. So what I found is even the red lights with those weaponized headlights are not enough. So a friend of mine, who unfortunately died of cancer 2 years ago, he bought a huge case of red DeWalt laser glasses. They are red, but they're not dark enough to miss pedestrians, but they do tone way down those headlights, and they were $2, $3 each. You had to buy a case of 13. So he bought a case of 100 and just handed them out to everybody. And so DeWalt laser glasses on Amazon are red. You're not allowed to wear them legally to drive. You're not even allowed to wear orange blue blockers to drive. You are allowed to wear the yellow blue blockers to drive at night. So I'm not technically allowed to tell people to wear these at night, but I do. You technically can't wear the red ones at night, but if you really want to dial those down, the DeWalt ones allow you to see enough, but to tone those lights down.
Okay, great. And then is there a way that I can dim my own headlights so I'm not blasting it to everybody else?
Not really. They're not tunable. So the only thing you can do is swap them out for a different bulb. Eventually they'll have better headlight bulbs that are LED, that are a softer light, but you can still see everything.
Is it possible to swap them out? I'd be willing to do that.
It depends on your car. Like I bought a 2010 Lexus for my son who just turned 16, and I wanted to change out one of the bulbs, and you have to change the whole assembly. They don't just let you change the bulb. So it depends on your car. You just have to ask.
And you just ask at the dealer. That's the only
The
way.
dealer
That's the only
will
way to do it, is at the dealer.
Yeah, so you can ask them if they have a different color temperature light for the headlights.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last question is that AMA study that came out warning against these LED lights. Can you give us a reference or citation for how we can get a copy?
Google AMA, American Medical Association, 2016 LED warning, and they have an opinion paper, and it's all about LED streetlights. But in the middle of the paper, it talks about the headlight temperatures and how dangerous they are at such high temperatures. That's in that same paper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry to cut in, but this is your bag. Your wife said, good job.
Thank you.
All right, and we have time for one or two more questions.
Hi, Hi, so to piggyback off the Philips Hue light bulbs, which are Bluetooth, you can control each color of each bulb from your phone. Is it safe to assume that when you choose the red lights that you're also eliminating the blue light wavelengths?
Not safe to assume that with the Philips Hue, because so when we design lights and when I test people's lights, I'm looking for optimal frequencies like 660 nanometer red or 630 nanometer red. These are the studied wavelengths, and it's one single wavelength of pure red light. With the Philips Hue, I'm not sure if the red is like a pure red or if it's mixed with some blue to get red. So the only way to check is to find someone who's tested it with a spectrometer, which I just haven't done, but I guarantee you somebody online has. Just type in Philips Hue spectrum, and it'll show a spectrometer reading, and if there's no spike of blue light between like 400 nanometer and 500 nanometer, maybe it's a little technical, but then if you see that there's a report, then you'll know it's all good.
I'm following, thank you.
And you could find me at the booth. We could look on the phone and see if someone's done that.
Okay, cool. And then final question. You did touch a little bit on green light. I just want to know your opinion on green light and the studies and impacts maybe on human health or affecting melatonin.
There's very few studies on green light affecting melatonin. There's a couple, not as much as, there's thousands on blue light. So green light, I've seen one study, and they did blue, green, and red light and tested melatonin. And they did see a reduction in melatonin at first, and then it went back up with the green light, whereas the blue light stayed suppressed. So yes, green light can suppress some melatonin. So if you want to be like optimal, then eliminate blue and green. I personally don't find that eliminating green light impacts me that much. So if I eliminate blue, big difference. Blue and green, I do get a little sleepier, but it's much harder to eliminate that. So like my overhead lighting at home is pure red, no green at all. But with my blue light blockers and I'm out, I won't wear the red ones. So again, there's only like 1 or 2 studies that show that the green light has an impact. So it's still at its infancy, we might see more, but there's some effect for sure.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's not definitive, it's hard.
Some of us live really close to a mountain. Oh, some of us live really close to a mountain, so we don't get that morning light until later.
Yep.
Is there?
I get this question all the time. Or it's foggy, or it's rainy, or it's cloudy. So it's cloudy, like you can't see the light over your neighbor's house, or you can't see the sunlight because you're in the mountains. Doesn't matter. Within 30 minutes of the time that the sun rises, if you're outside and you can see, the light's getting into your eye for you to be able to see. So you're getting, even if you can't see the sun, its light is reaching your eye. It's the time, not that you can see the sun. Once you see the sun come over the mountain, the UV is going to be in the sun. And it's a different effect than at sunrise. So
really
don't wait.
How high of a flicker rate does it need to be?
So flicker rate depends. So how much flicker should you look for in a light to be considered like no flicker for your brain? That is, there's an American national standard that they're working on for flicker rate in LED, and it's not completed yet. So I don't know the ideal amount, but there are people out there that probably do. Like if you look up Andrew Latour, his company's called Gemba Red, G-M-B-A Red. He's like designs like the best red lights for the least amount of money, and he like knows every study and everything about flicker. Just email Andrew and ask him. He's so like easy to talk to. Andrew Latour from Gemba Red, he's the owner. He has stuff on his website on flicker and LEDs. You can look at that as well.
I teach on EMF safety for children's health defense. EMF from your cell phones is light registered by your brain. So compensating with the light, how is that going to compensate for the EMF on people's phones? Can you just briefly talk on that?
Yeah, I mean, so all the spectrum from the sun is light. Gamma rays, X-rays, microwaves, that's all light that our body is tuned to. Like we're exposed to 10 quintillion, 10 with 18 zeros, more microwave radiation today than 1950, and it has a biological effect. 5,500 peer-reviewed published studies, bioinitiative.org has a report on all those studies, color-coded by what they do in your body. So yes, a blue light has a big effect on melatonin. ADHD, anxiety, insomnia can also be caused from electromagnetic frequencies like microwave radiation from your Wi-Fi router. We have no Wi-Fi at our house, but I work remotely as an executive for a Fortune 500 company. You don't need Wi-Fi. So your phone should be in airplane mode, yes. and it should be no blue light. So electromagnetic frequencies also have an impact on our sleep, our health, our hormones, all of that, because it's another version of light that's not as well publicized, but still well studied. So yes, electromagnetic frequencies like microwaves, if you can turn your Wi-Fi router off at night, figure out a way to do that.
Let's thank Thaddeus once again.
Thanks, everybody.